You're here because you are the best of the best. High energy, positivity, optimism. Let's go.
You can turn your back on the bitter wood. You can turn your back on the bitter wood. You can turn your back on the bitter wood. Me and my cousins and you and your cousins. It's a line that's always running. Me and my cousins and you and your cousins.
All right, guys, welcome back in. We're getting ready to jump into another super fun episode. In fact, we are jumping back into Vampire Weekend. We already did A-Punk a couple of weeks ago where we asked what exactly is punk, and today we're jumping into Cousins, and I definitely think they bring a little bit of punkness to this too. We're gonna find out what makes Vampire Weekend special to you, and I'll add a couple little tidbits in there of myself. So first off, I absolutely love the song. It's fast, the video is crazy, quirky, funny, completely unpredictable, but also completely Vampire Weekend. So question to you: does it remind you of anyone in your family a little bit quirky, crazy like these guys are, that brings the craziness to any kind of restaurant outing or maybe family adventure? So let's jump into this one. And there we go. Okay, don't shoot me. I gotta pause. Let me throw some stuff in there. A couple weeks ago when we first started talking about A-Punk, we discussed how Vampire Weekend actually followed their passion, totally developed their own style, and seemingly did it on their own terms. And I mentioned they did get a lot of pushback, but they said, you know what, screw it. This is who we are. This is what we want to do. This is what we're going to do it. People recognize that, and 4 or 5 albums later, they're still crushing it. So, and I think they absolutely continue to do that in this song, Cousins. And I will also tell you that I personally miss Rostam. I thought he brought so much talent and genius to this band, bringing that Baroque style in. Some of the different instruments that he used. So I know he kind of got the spark for those guys, but I do miss him. So on a side note, I think my wife actually has a thing for bassist, and I'm gonna say Scott Baio, but it's not Scott Baio from back in the 80s and 90s, it's Chris Baio, but apparently they might actually have a family relationship there. So now, question for you: have you ever attended a big family or friends dinner? You get to the restaurant, you sit down, bring out a couple of glasses of wine. Who are we kidding? A couple of bottles of wine. An hour or two later, you're talking, you're laughing, and the restaurant might even come up and say, you guys are being a little loud, and the other patrons are getting a little pissed, so can you simmer down now? So let's continue with Cousins. This one is amazing.
It's always running, me and my cousins and you and your cousins. I can feel it coming. Feel it coming. Me and my cousins and you and your cousins. It's a line that's always running. Me and my cousins and you and your cousins. I can feel it coming.
Oh my God. How can you not freaking love that song? It's fast, it's super fun, you got the confetti at the end. You can tell these guys are having an absolute blast putting this together. So, my wife and I'm so glad she introduced me to this band so many years ago, but we actually had the pleasure of seeing Vampire Weekend not once but twice. We saw them first time down in St. Augustine, Florida at the amphitheater. Got there early, got front row. Always the best way to go. And then second, we saw them last year in Jacksonville, Florida. Same thing, we got the early front row. Had a blast. They actually brought in a Billy Joel tribute band. Those guys were fun. But I will tell you, when they opened up, because they do have a lot of new members, a lot of traveling live musicians they traveled with. When they started the set, it was just the three guys. Very simple, but man, they opened up with Holiday, Bren, Oxford comma. What the hell's an Oxford comma? So just absolutely awesome shows. Love their style, love their music, and on stage, they're just as good. So let's go back to you guys. One more question. We talked about going to the restaurant. Now let's think about holidays. You invite your family, you invite maybe some friends, you invite a handful of people. Next thing you know, you open up, you got 50 people at your house. The alcohol's flowing, the wine, the beer, everybody's having a blast. And next thing you know, if you got friends like ours, we call them the closers. You look outside and the closers are still sitting on your back porch at midnight. You're like, guys, I love you, but you gotta go. You're not even cousins at this point. So I would love to hear your stories about Vampire Weekend. Have you seen them in concert? What's your favorite song? And of course, any family craziness or friend craziness like we've talked about. Maybe even who is the family member that shows up at your gatherings that's like, oh, so-and-so's here, it's about to go off the chart. So with that said, go celebrate your family, go celebrate your friends, because you guys are the best of the best. Cheers, and go have a great day.